Welcome to Small Screen Cinema with Tabitha and Dad. And Tabitha, we have a fun movie. I thought it was a fun movie. Tell everybody what we're going to review.
We are reviewing Daydream Believers, the monkey story. I don't
Yes.
have a monkey so you will have to deal with my Beatles Magical Mystery Tour shirt. But I do, so I got that at a concert in 2012 in
Really?
Nashville. Yeah,
How many times have you seen the Monkees or a variation of Monkey or Monkees in concert?
only twice.
Only twice? Okay,
Yeah.
not
Have
bad.
you ever?
I've never had Monkey Mania, no. Now, when I went to college in Hannibal, they had an amphitheater there and they used to bring in pretty big acts. So one time they had Starship there. They had the outfield there when they were popular, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and yes, once they even brought in the Monkees. And about 40 miles south on the two-lane highway from Hannibal on the way to St. Louis is a little town called Clarksville. And everybody was waiting for them to sing Last Train to Clarksville. I did not go, but yeah, Monkey Mania actually came to Hannibal in the 80s. So pretty cool.
They did have a little bit of a resurgence in the 80s from what I understand. So
They
that
did.
makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us about this movie.
Okay, well, let me see. So sorry, you probably can't hear that. My kid's going crazy out there. This movie is about the 1960s fabricated group, the Monkees, and the thing about them is that their story actually lends itself quite nicely to a movie because they were only together a couple of years initially. Um, so the whole rise and fall of them was pretty brief, as opposed to the Beatles, who have this huge sprawling story that could take up 6 seasons and two movies. The Monkees was a sitcom about four struggling musicians who somehow afforded beachfront property and had magic. Magic things happened to them, and they would break the fourth wall. It was a very funny, surreal show. And the four actors behind the band decided that they wanted to be a real band and be taken seriously as musicians, and Daydream Believers is about that struggle. The movie was written by Ron McGee and Harold Bronson. Ron McGee had several TV movies to his name, including Meatloaf to Hell and Back, the unauthorized Saved by the Bell story, the unauthorized Full House story, and Fatal Contact Bird Flu in America.
Wow.
These days, he is writing for the NCIS franchise.
Nice.
Harold Bronson wrote the book that this telefilm is based on, and he was a producer on the movie too. He's mostly a music person, but he was also an executive producer on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, strangely.
Hmm.
Um, he was a music critic and he co-founded Rhino Records.
Oh,
And as
okay.
far as I can tell, he is still alive. The movie was directed by Neil Fearnley, I think is how you say it. Fearnley has a long directing career in television. He did 4 episodes of 21 Jump Street, 2 of Friday the 13th, the series, excuse me, and 6 of Border Town. The year after he made Daydream Believers, he directed a TV movie about the Osmonds just called Inside the Osmonds, which I think I've seen. I have vague memories of watching an Osmonds movie as a kid.
Gosh, how how dull does that movie have to be? What did the Osmonds ever do? And here's the Osmonds going to church, and they're coming home from church, and they're going to a concert, and they're coming home from a concert. Is that beer? No, that's not even soda. They're Mormon. They can't even have caffeine. What are they doing? So anyway,
I don't know. More recently, it looks like he worked on a lot of Hallmark shows and TV movies, a whole series of movies called Garage Sale Mysteries, starring convicted felon Lori Loughlin. And he did 47 episodes of a show called When Calls the Heart, a show that was co-created by Michael Landon Jr.
Wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Fearnley passed away in 2024. The movie stars George Stanchev as Davy Jones, and no offense to him, but he's just not cute enough to play Davy.
Where are you going to find cute enough to play Davy? Did you know,
Fair.
little trivia about Davy Jones? He is the only English citizen in the history of mankind to have nice teeth.
I did not know that. He has a very small filmography, and this movie is his first credit. And the last thing he's credited in is an episode of Degrassi in 2003, where he's just listed as playing tough guy. The only other thing I could find about this is I think I found his LinkedIn, and he lives in Toronto and he's 45. I hope he's doing well.
Okay.
Next up is L.B. Fisher as Peter Tork, and Fisher has been a working actor since the 90s. He was on a few episodes of Days of Our Lives. He worked on ER, Felicity, and Boston Public. And there was a huge gap between his filmography from 2002 to 2023 when he was most recently in Teen Wolf, the movie.
Wow.
I don't know if you know that they made a show on MTV, kind of a reboot of Teen Wolf, and then they made a TV movie about it, or
I did
of
not
it.
know that.
All right,
I
well,
I quit watching MTV back about 1994.
well, it's almost gone anyway.
Yeah.
As Mike Nesmith, we have Jeff Geddes, and he's been steadily working since the turn of the century. This movie was very early in his career. He was on an episode of The Famous Jet Jackson. Do you remember mocking that show?
Yeah, the
To my
obscure Jet
face.
Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so rude. You're so mean to my Disney Channel original series. Um, oh, he was also in the Disney Channel original movie Twas the Night, and I must tell you that this Disney Channel original Christmas movie stars Bryan Cranston. It's
Hmm.
very important to me that you know that.
Okay.
This
This actor, I know I've seen him in things.
you probably
Uh,
have.
and I thought in portraying their characters, he was the most believable. He really did look like Mike Nesmith. Didn't have quite the Texas drawl that Mike Nesmith did, but he pretty much nailed him.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, yeah, most of his credits are for things I've not heard of. But he was in an episode of Murdoch Mysteries and an episode of Saving Hope. He is still working today. Good for him. And finally, the one actor that I knew before watching this movie, and I know him from other things, is Aaron Lohr as Mickey Dolenz. And Mr. Lohr can sing. You know his voice because he did the singing voice for Max in a Goofy movie.
Ah,
Hmm.
okay.
And that soundtrack is still great. It holds up. Um, he was in Newsies, he was in the Mighty Ducks movies, he has a small part in Rent. And he's a big theater guy too. And in fact, he is married to Idina Menzel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Daydream Believers aired on VH1 June 28th, 2000. And since it aired on cable, it doesn't really matter what it was up against, now does it? So you and I have a long history with the Monkees. My some of my earliest memories are of riding in the car with you, listening to the Monkees. I just love them. So I actually
And
didn't
so
watch
do
the
I.
show. What?
And so do I.
I actually didn't watch the show until college. I just so I kind of came into it backwards. I just listened to the music. I only knew them as a band.
Well,
Scully. Okay.
hi, Scully. I grew up watching the Monkees, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've always had this affinity towards not just the show, but towards the music. And I contend, before we really get into the movie, I contend they are a much better band than they're given credit for. And their songs are, even though they sound bubblegummy, Last Train to Clarksville, and I know that was a Don Kirshner song. That's about leaving for the Vietnam War.
Hmm.
Pleasant Valley Sunday is just a scathing uh, uh, song about suburban life, and I just love it. A lot of their music has a lot more depth than people give it credit for. They were better than boy bands are.
I agree. I agree. Um, Real quick, what is your favorite Monkees song?
Probably listen to the band. I've always thought that was a great song.
That is a great song. Love it. Mine is I'm basic. I love Daydream Believer. I just think it's a beautiful song. I never get tired of it. Um, okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get into the
Wait a
movie.
minute, wait a minute. Um, Going down,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
one where Mickey scats. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, that's fair. Mickey was amazing. Yeah.
He was. And he was almost Fonzie, by the way.
Yeah,
I couldn't see it, but he almost was.
I mean, I guess in fairness, I never found oh my God.
Henry Winkler.
Yes, attractive either, but Mickey Dolan was the least attractive physically speaking. So, no. I mean, it really does look like you smashed his face in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Dolans. He's the only one
Andy,
still alive, so
the only
I'm
one
so
still
sorry.
alive, and you have to trash him. You wait till they die, and then we trash him. Let me tell you what I think about Peter Tork. So,
Okay. So we get our opening credits with the Monkees theme song playing. Hey, hey, we are the Monkees. We cut to current day, well, 2000 for this pointless scene with a guy pitching what is basically the Monkees. He's talking about how cutting edge it is, and he's absolutely sure it's never been done before. Cut to 1965 with a man named Van Foreman pitching the same idea. Har, har, har. Van Foreman, by the way, is not a real person. He is kind of Schneider and Rafelson smushed together. I guess they couldn't afford two actors, so they just made them into one guy and changed the name. So they start holding auditions for these four guys, and we cut to our future Monkees finding out about the show. Peter Tork is working in a restaurant, and his friend is encouraging him to audition. He says he's not an actor, he's a musician. Mike Nesmith is being dropped off at the studio by his pregnant wife, and he's only interested because apparently they said they will let him write songs for the show. Davy Jones is heading to the audition, and he's uncertain because he is a Broadway actor, not a rock and roller. Meanwhile, a network executive is asking hitmaker Don Kirshner to handle the music for the show. And Foreman insists that that's fine, but he's picking the guys. Don Kirshner, by the way, was Mike Nesmith's arch nemesis. Then we meet Mickey Dolans, who's in the waiting room, waiting to audition, and he's talking to another young hopeful who is super nervous because this is his first time auditioning. Mickey's very chill. He's been doing this for so long, he doesn't get bothered. Mickey was a child star, definitely a child actor. He had his own show called Circus Boy, which I guess was in the late 50s. I've never actually watched it. I know about it though. You can kind of split the Monkees in half. Mike and Peter were musicians, Davy and Mickey were actors. So the nervous guy goes into his audition, and Foreman starts insulting his boots, his red boots, and the guy panics and runs away, crying. And this is why I didn't pursue acting. I know I cannot emotionally handle this kind of thing. Now it's Mickey's turn. He goes in and Foreman is ignoring him and he's building a cup tower and Mickey just smashes it and demands his attention. And then we get
Checkmate. I like
yeah.
that.
And then we get a montage of auditions after that. Mike comes in with his laundry. That's a true story. Peter catches a paper airplane in his mouth. Unsure about that one. Davy does a little dance. I'm positive that probably happened. And Foreman isn't sure about him, but the executive is like, look at that face. And if it were actually Davy, I would agree. But he's hired, and they gather our four winners together to congratulate them. And Mike's like, we get to play our own music, right? And they're like, hey, don't worry about that. Let's not talk about it. Foreman encourages the guys to go out and get to know each other, to sell the public that they're all besties, like the Beatles were for a while.
Yeah.
So they go out to a diner. This is a true story. I've heard several of the guys talk about it. Davey accidentally kind of brings down the mood by insulting Texas. They get their food, and Davey's like, oh my God, you guys are disgusting. Look at your table manners. And they're all kind of like, okay, I don't know about this guy. But then he starts just eating salad with his bare hands to break the tension, and then they all kind of relax after that. Cut to our next montage of the guys getting fitted for wardrobe. And I do like that the montages in this are kind of like montages from the show, like goofy,
Yeah.
fast paced, lighthearted. They're not as good as the ones from the show, but they tried.
Yeah. The Monkees, um, what they tried to do with the show, and this, if you've not seen the show, watch the episodes of the show. There was nothing on TV had ever been like that before. They patterned it after Marx Brothers performances. So it's a lot of fast moving, a lot of fast jokes, a lot of corny jokes. They don't have the timing that the Marx Brothers had because the Marx Brothers were together for decades, perfecting their craft, but it is patterned after the Marx Brothers, and I think that's why I like the show so much because one of my favorite movies is Duck Soup by the Marx Brothers because the comedy is so fast and the timing is so good, and the Monkees were just like that.
I told you I did finally see Duck Soup last year. It was very good.
Yes, it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Um, so now Mike's hat. There's a bit in the montage where the wardrobe girls try to take it away and he like clings to it. But as I recall, he didn't really care about the hat. He just happened to be wearing it at his audition, and the producers are the ones who made it a thing. So next, the guys are practicing their instruments, and Mickey really doesn't think he can do it. He says he's not a drummer. And Peter's like, well, you are an actor, so just fake it till you make it. Later, Peter and Mickey bond a little bit. Peter laments that he moved around a lot as a kid, and he's always kind of been the new kid because of that. And he worries that LA is too cutthroat for him and he misses New York. But Mickey's lived in LA his whole life, and he's always felt kind of stuck there. They pass Davy, who's on the phone with his dad. In real life, Davy's mother died when he was pretty young, so his dad raised him and his siblings alone, and Davy was very close to him. He's a little sad that he won't be able to come home for a while. He says that him and the other guys don't have much in common, but he's sure they'll find something. And then we get our first recording session, and much to Mike and Peter's chagrin, they find out they will not be playing their own instruments. They are just doing the vocals. And they meet that old stick in the mud son of a bitch, Don Kirshner, and immediately start giving him shit. And he's like, if he had a monocle, it would be popping. He's just like, I never. My goodness, what is this?
Now, Don Kirshner, he's buttoned up and square in this movie. Now, I used to watch. There was a show on called Don Kirshner's Rock Concert that he would host, and there would be. It was a great show, by the way, and he would have like rock bands on there. I don't know. I know he made his money with bubblegum stuff, but the show was really good. But the thing about it was he was so bad in front of the camera, it was comical. And our next band comes from Vancouver. They're really good. One of Canada's greatest, the new band. Here's Heart, and it was like that. And Saturday Night Live had Paul Schaefer do him, and he was spot on. So even though he was looked very buttoned up in the movie there, in real life, that made him look like almost normal. So
Oh my gosh. So the next thing they are filming the pilot, and they don't do a terrible job recreating the mania of the show, but they don't do a great job of it either. I mean, there's most, if not all, of the episodes are up on YouTube. Give them a watch. So they screened the pilot for the network, and it is not going well. And to be fair, the pilot is very weak compared to the rest of the show. It's almost average. You know, there's not a whole lot of weirdness. The pilots or the plot is very basic. It got a lot better. And Foreman tells them that they were, in fact, the lowest testing pilot for NBC ever. So Foreman and the network exec, whose name is Harris, try and edit it, and can't figure out why it's not working. So Harris hypothesizes that the show moved too fast and you don't really get to know the guys. So what they did is they put some audition footage at the end of the episode, but only Mike and Davey. Fuck Peter and Mickey, I guess. Their footage is not in the episode. It really is in the pilot. If you watch the episode, it's on there. I don't know why this was particularly helpful, but I guess I wasn't walking around in a drug-induced haze in the mid 60s, so what do I know?
being
The
you were
guys
born in 1990, you couldn't have been. So
the guys are not expecting the show to get picked up, and they're kind of bummed about it. And Mickey's like, don't take it personally. This happens all the time. Tons of pilots go unsold every year. Davey says he's just gonna go home to England and be a jockey. But lucky for them, the second testing goes really well, and they do get picked up for a full 26 episode season. And Don Kirshner, for all of his oddness, did seem to be pretty good at his job. He gathers a crowd of screaming teenage girls who don't know what they're screaming for at a train station as the guys make their debut as a group and sing The Last Train to Clarksville. And I do want to take this moment to praise Mickey Dolenz. For a guy who was mostly an actor, he had a really great singing voice, like for pop. You know, he just had a really strong, memorable voice. He always killed it when he was the lead singer.
he did, and he also has a stage presence that the
Yes.
other three did not have. That's probably because he'd been a child actor and he knew how to work a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you watch footage of Monkees concerts, he's really good. I think he could have made it as as the front man of a band or a solo artist if things wouldn't would have worked out different because he got into this singing through the back door.
Mm-hmm.
He was auditioning to be a part of a situational comedy. He wasn't auditioning to be a rock star.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he just had a natural gift for it. So after that, the guys are shooting the show, but their location is on lockdown and they're waiting around from the owner. Um, this bothered me because I recognize their costumes, and this is, in fact, a season 2 episode, so they should not be filming this episode right now.
And yes, I did recognize the outfits, and I remember one of the songs in there was a Nesmith song. It was a later song, so I thought, nah, this couldn't have happened. But
Yeah,
our nerddom is coming out here. So
right. So Peter tricks Harris into leaving, and the rest of the guys just drive right through the fence in the truck. Meanwhile, their first record is doing gangbusters, and their first record was just called The Monkees. At an NBC party, the guys are waiting around to be introduced, and eventually they get tired of waiting and they just bust in and start causing as much trouble as they can. And these stuffed shirts are not amused at all. They go to the beach to bond, I guess, and Mike's wife Phyllis is there, and she's had their son Christian. The guys talk about how many girls they're getting now, except Mike, of course. I'm sure. Yeah. And this is still all before the show actually premiered. Cut to the opening credits, which have been pretty well recreated. I will say, except again, they're using season two footage. Stop that. And the show does great in the ratings. And they're like, we beat Gilligan's Island. Hell yeah.
I don't know how you can beat the intellectual depth of Gilligan's Island, but anyway, go ahead.
I mean, aren't they kind of on par goofiness wise? I mean, Gilligan's Island was basically magic too.
Yeah, Gilligan's Island was a kind of an ensemble cast, but the comedian was Bob Denver, and he was the star. The Monkees were complete ensemble.
That, yeah, you're right. And Last Train to Clarksville is a number one hit. During the holiday season, Peter and Mickey are Christmas shopping when they get recognized at a mall and start getting mobbed by a bunch of girls. Um, and then it comes out in the newspaper that they're not playing their own instruments on the album. But in real life, I am pretty sure I used to know all this stuff by heart. I'm pretty sure Mike told everybody that in an interview because he was so pissed off about it. Um, Davy and Mickey aren't that upset about it. They don't see the big deal. Again, they're like, we're actors. It doesn't matter. But Mike and Peter are like, no, we are musicians. And they want to do a concert to prove that they can, just to prove that they can do it, that they can play instruments. Davy and Mickey are like, I don't know, that sounds like a lot of extra work that I didn't sign up for. But they get him to go along with it. Kirshner does not like the idea, but Harris approves it. So the guys rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. Uh, they all get very frustrated with each other and they all walk out on Mike. Uh, he calms down, he apologizes. I can't see young Mike Nesmith doing that. He was pretty high strung, but maybe. So they fly out to Hawaii for their first ever concert, and it was probably, I feel like they probably got away with it because it was a Beatles situation. The Beatles quit touring because fans would scream so loud and so constantly at the concerts that you couldn't hear the music anyway. So they get on stage and they sing I Want to Be Free, which, what did you call that song when I was little?
I don't remember. I just hated the song.
You said, we don't listen to this song. The Monkees are being dweebs here.
Okay.
But I will go to bat for this version. This version is faster.
Oh,
It's
this version's better than the recorded one. Yes,
it's
indeed.
way, way better. Yes.
In fact, I didn't recognize it at first. I thought, what song is that? Oh, I want to be free. I'm supposed to hate this song.
Yeah, and it makes more sense for the message of the song anyway, which is you're suffocating me and I want to be able to bang other girls, so back off. It doesn't make sense for it to be a slow ballad, you know? Um, Let me see. I've already talked about Mickey's vocals. I like Davy and Mike on vocals too. Peter was the weak link voice wise. He was a talented musician, but he just had a thin singing voice.
Yeah, and Mickey at least learned how to play the drums.
He did,
He had
yes.
Davy was always frustrated because all he could do is play the tambourine.
Yeah.
So, and to give you an idea of how hard it is to play the tambourine, I could probably play the tambourine. So
Davy had the face. You don't need anything else.
that's what I tell people about me.
So they celebrate their success and they want to play on the next album, but again, Kirshner's like, oh, we're almost done with that album anyway. Don't even worry about it. The next montage we get to hear I'm a Believer. Great song. and Monkey Mania is taking hold. They make the show, they play some more concerts, and they go #1 all over the world. The next scene, we have Davy asleep on set when Peter sneaks up on him and scares him with a mask. Davy tells him how exhausted he is with their schedule, that he is having fun, but it's easy to lose yourself and everything going on. And Peter says he can relate to that, and he says that Davy needs to revolt and not just be the network's puppet. So after they wrap a scene, Mike asks Mickey if he ever thinks it's silly, four grown men play acting. And Mickey's like, "Oh yeah, sure. I lose sleep over it every night." Like sarcastically. He's basically like, "Just stop taking it so seriously. Calm down." During an interview, a reporter questions their authenticity, and afterward, Mike confronts Don Kirshner and he says this is exactly what he was worried about. Kirshner brushes him off, and they're like, "Look, everyone loves you. It doesn't matter." And Peter says it's not about people liking us, it's about them respecting us. To which I say, your core fan base is 12-year-old girls, you know? And that's not really going to change whether you're playing the instruments or not. But
Yeah.
whatever. Harris is like, it's just a TV show. And Kirshner again tells them not to worry about the music, just leave it to him. They're still getting paid. Mike says that the music is crap. That's not fair. It's not. That's too harsh. He says he's done putting his name on other people's music. He demands that they have a say in the songs and play their own instruments, or he quits. And Harris is like, you can't really do that because you signed a contract. Mike punches a hole in the wall and says, "You see that? That could have been your face." And IRL, that did happen, but what he actually said was, "That could have been your face, motherfucker." But you can't say that on VH1.
Right.
I know, right?
Now, this was a scene where they all got royalty checks of $250,000. I didn't notice that even though Mike and Peter were protesting that they're not being taken serious and all this other stuff, they still took the checks.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. they're not that they're not that serious about their art.
Yeah.
So Davy's not into this whole rebellion thing that they have going on. The rest of them talk him into it, saying that um they will let them play if they all threaten to walk. So I guess he kind of feels pressured into it, so he agrees. They go to Foreman with their plea, and they said they don't even mind using songwriters. They just want to play. He agrees to talk to Kirshner about it. They play another concert that's spliced with girls chasing them around a hotel. That's very much something the show would have done. And they're playing I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, but again, it's a slightly different version.
In that version, Davey does take over the drums at the end, so Mickey can go and actually front the song in the concert. And he was very theatrical in finishing the song. Yeah, he really was a good lead man, and it kind of sucked that he was stuck behind a drum kit because he really couldn't play anything else.
Right. I mean, he even said that, I think earlier in the movie, he said, "Who ever heard of a lead singer at the drums?" Which is
Don
fair.
Henley
Yeah.
said, I have. I've heard of it. Phil Collins said, I've heard of it. So it happens.
Um, so Foreman confronts Kirshner, and Harris is actually in his corner. Kirshner is not having this. He said, this is my job. This is what you hired me for. You said I would have control over the music, but now the network is kind of behind the guys on this because they threatened to all leave. So he's being overruled. The band travels to England, where Mickey gets the news that the Beatles are throwing them a party, which they did do. And actually, that party was the basis for the song Randy Scouse Git, which is another great Monkees song. At this party, we do get brief looks at the Fab Four. Peter's chatting with George because, of course, he is. That makes sense. Mickey's lamenting with Paul because that also makes sense. And then there's Mike talking to John, which, again, makes sense. And I guess Davy doesn't have anything in common with Ringo, so he's just kind of wandering around and watching everything. He does sneak home to visit his dad in drag. And because he's his dad and not a fan, he just wants to know how Davy's handling all this. And he tells him if it's too much, you should just quit and come home. And Davy's like, I can't really do that in this job. It's not like that. I have obligations. And his dad says it doesn't matter if you're not happy.
By the way, I don't know if you're going to address this. I thought you were, maybe. Um, do you know what song Kirshner wanted them to sing that they put their caused them to really put their foot down?
Yes, sugar, sugar.
Yes, and that's when Don Kirshner created the Archies because said, I can create a cartoon to sing these songs. I don't need to deal with people. That's how the Archies were created. That's why Sugar Sugar is an Archie song, which probably reached number one too. Don Kirshner was just, you know, but when you think of the other songs that the Monkees sang, none of them were as saccharine as Sugar Sugar. No pun intended, but that
Yeah,
song is just so bubblegummy. I could see them putting their things in there. Is that
my heart
Dominic
out.
Mondo or Scully?
That's Scully. I know they
Okay.
look alike, and yeah, but again, he created a cartoon. Sure, real people had to sing that song,
Yeah, yeah.
though.
I'm just saying that's what happened.
Yeah, okay. Let me see. Back at the studio, Kirshner goes ahead and releases a single without the guys playing on it. The single, by the way, was "A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You." He says that's within his rights as outlined in his contract. He had already promised Neil Diamond, the songwriter, that that would be the single. Well, that little stunt gets him fired, which, I mean, if that's in his contract and you really fire him over that, I don't know how these things work. But Neil Diamond wrote a lot of the songs that the Monkees ended up doing, which is a fun factoid. So the boys go in to record their own album, their third studio album called Headquarters. But the song they use for the recording montage is All of Your Toys, which is not on Headquarters. It actually wasn't released until the 80s on a Monkees Missing Links album. I believe this was a rights issue between the songwriter and the record label, and I like the song. It's just odd that they're using it instead of one of the tracks from Headquarters.
Yeah.
I personally would have chosen No Time for this bit, because that's a fun, fast-paced song. Anyway, Headquarters hits number one for 1 week, and then Sergeant Pepper came out and dethroned it and everything else in its path. And according to Peter Tork, because the cool thing about my DVD is there is a commentary track with all four of the actual Monkees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so according to Peter Tork, they actually weren't depressed about Sergeant Pepper. They just all thought it was a really great album. And it is one of the most famous albums ever made. And Headquarters is a good album too. I do think it's something to be proud of. Anyway, in the movie, they're all bummed out about it. And Mike says he wants to try and make some music on his own. And Peter seems to take this the hardest, even though in real life, Peter is the one who left the band first. He was not nearly as sentimental a person as this movie makes him out to be. And he and Mike probably butted heads more than any of the others. I feel like the movie kind of modeled his personality off of what it was on the show, because he was the very naive, sweet, innocent one. But that's just not who Peter Tork really was. Anyway, cut to the Emmys, and most of them are excited, but Mike's like, man, don't get caught up in all this Hollywood bullshit. The music is all that matters, man. And I'm like, dude, shut up. Do you know how many
E-
people would be thrilled to win an Emmy?
Even his wife is like, lighten up, dude. Come on, man.
Truly. My God. And they do win. Congratulations. Hooray.
And they were up against Bewitched, um, Hogan's Heroes. Um, gosh, what other ones were there? They were
I don't know,
against
I should have wrote it down.
up like against four iconic
Yes.
sitcoms, and they won. They that that would be on my Facebook page for the rest of my life. I won best sitcom of 1960 whatever over Bewitched, Hogan's Heroes, and the other good stuff. So,
Agreed. I would never stop talking about that ever. I would be holding that Emmy on my deathbed. You would have to pry it out of my hands after I passed. So then we see them filming the fairy tale episode from season 2. And fairy tale is a great episode. Mike playing the princess is just an inspired choice. Do you remember that
yeah,
one?
and what I like about that is Mike really wasn't too much the funny one, and this was one episode where he really stood out. If he wanted to, he could do the job and do it really well.
Yeah.
But I think I don't want to say he got the crappy parts. He wasn't often the focus, and probably a lot of it was like writing was like he's tough to deal with anyway because it's all about the music. So it's kind of like the fourth monkey. Yeah,
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But and there is a commentary on the season 2 DVD with Mike Nesmith on that episode. And he says it was his idea. He's like, "Yeah, I just kind of wanted to have some fun that week." So I'm like, "Let me play the princess." And I'm like, "Well, good for you. You can lighten up sometimes." But the funniest part about that was when they would cut back to Mike playing just one of the peasants, and he would be like, "Wow, what a groovy looking chick with those sideburns, man." Um, so I and in the movie it's just kind of like outtakes of them trying to make this episode, but they're real outtakes from the movie. They just thought they were cute and they put them in. And it is cute. It showed that the guys could have fun on the show too. And I will say this about the show: as the show got worse as time went on and the music got better.
I would agree.
Yeah. Season 2 is real messy. A lot of the times I don't even think they had a script. I think they were all high and they just kind of wandered around saying stuff. Season 2 is not good, except from a few standouts. But the music is banger in season 2. Um, where was I? Blah 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 blah. Behind the scenes, Mike plays a demo of Jimi Hendrix for Peter. He's going to open for them at one of their concerts, and they are psyched. Now, Mickey did kind of discover Jimi Hendrix in real life and got him to open for them. And they're all excited because they're like, wow, this guy's amazing. He's going to get us respect and bring in an older, more sophisticated audience. Unfortunately, the kids in the audience boo Hendrix off the stage, as they really did when when he opened for them. But he flips them off before he goes, which is fair.
Not only did he flip them off, he did an obscene gesture with his guitar neck, and
Mm.
they barely showed it on the movie. I thought, I wonder if they're going to show the famous thing what he did. The guy had all the mothers like, oh my gosh, but they just barely showed it. But yeah, he did a prolonged self pleasure deal to all the little teeny boppers in the crowd, and then he unplugged them, flipped them off, and left.
So they're pretty bummed that that didn't work out. But the good news is Mike can afford to buy his family a new mansion with all that money for the job he hates. And Phyllis says she doesn't care about the music and that she and Christian just need him to be present. Yeah, spoiler alert, this marriage did not last, shockingly. And he's just really kind of a dick to her. He's not even trying to reassure her. He's just like, whatever, man, I'm being true to myself. It annoying. Meanwhile, Peter and Davy are working on Daydream Believer. Davy is frustrated to as is oh my god. Davy is frustrated because to him the song doesn't make any sense. I have heard that growing up in England, he didn't know what a homecoming queen was, but that might be apocryphal. They get into an argument, and Peter ends up punching Davy in the face. That also really did happen, but it was not a fight over this song. I don't think either of them ever said what the fight was actually about. But they do manage to record the song. Uh, and I don't like this because they did record it in the Rainbow Room, like in the movie, but they weren't in their white outfits. They were in their jeweled shirts. I have no idea why they would change that. The songwriter for this, John Stewart, not that John Stewart, said that he didn't think it was one of his best, but the longevity of it has kept him in the money his entire life. So good for him. After that, Davy throws Peter his doctor's bill over the punch, which also really did happen, which I thought was kind of a funny way to bury the hatchet. And then Foreman introduces them to Jack Nicholson.
Okay, who did that actor remind you of?
Jack Nicholson? I don't know.
He reminded me of Jackie Boy from Sin City. That that big toothy smile and everything and the hair. Yeah, I thought that's Jackie Boy, but at least Benicio del Toro.
I barely remember that movie.
Watch it again and watch a segment with Jackie Boy, and yeah, it's just it was. Oh gosh, that's the same looking character.
Okay. Um, they all agree that the show is getting stale, to which I'm like, it's only season 2, you guys. Anyway, Foreman suggests they make a movie. Yes, Jack Nicholson did help write the Monkees movie, and he does have a cameo in it. They're all hyped for this idea. So they all get high and write Head. And sure, you can tell they were in an altered state when they wrote the movie, but you know what? I love this movie. I love it.
You're the only one.
No, I am not. It's a great movie. You know what I did? I spent about $100 on this set because it came with the movie Head. And yes, you can get this movie by itself, but not with the commentary track from all four Monkees.
Wow. What did they say? Honestly, I don't remember. We were on so many drugs.
No, they had a lot of interesting things to say about it. I actually rewatched the movie after I watched Daydream Believers because I was in the mood for it again. Um, no, I remember Mickey saying that at the beginning when he jumps off the bridge and it's clearly a dummy, he's like, "Yeah, one of the PAs sacrificed his life for us to get this shot, but we gave him a lovely funeral." That made me laugh. And it's also a great album. Mondo gave me this for a birthday present one year, and it's awesome.
Okay,
Don't listen to this, man. Go watch the movie.
go watch the movie.
Um, I think the visuals are cool. I think the music is great. And I think the point of destroying their image was uniquely done. The Cop's Dream, uh, Daddy's Song with Tony Basil, the black box stuff, the boxing scene, the mermaids, I find it endlessly fascinating. Now, I grant you, if you're not familiar with the Monkees, Head is going to be impossible to understand. But if you do know their story, I think you can at least see what they were getting at. Or if you're just a fan of 60s acid movies, you might get something out of it then. Because it doesn't really have a plot. It's got a theme and a lot of vignettes. Anyway, while on set filming the dandruff scene, they find out that the show got canceled, and Harris is pissed, but the guys are thrilled. They take this as a good sign. They're going to grow as artists. He gives them a cold dose of reality that they've got no show, their record sales are down, and if the movie flops, they've got nothing. So it turns out he was right. The movie tanked, and that was kind of the end of the road for them. The four of them commiserate over the terrible reviews. Mike's still happy that Monkey Mania is a thing of the past, and someday people will appreciate their movie. And that people is me. And I appreciate it.
Okay.
Foreman pretty much abandons them at this point because he was off making
Five
these
easy.
movies. Yeah, with Nicholson. We get a scene of Mike talking to his little boy. Well, really whining to his little boy that, yeah, he made it big, but not in the way he wanted it to. Like, most of us don't end up the way we thought we would or the way we wanted to, you know? You just kind of have to make the most of it. But whatever. He gets a call that his wife was in an accident, and I think that really did happen. Again, it's been so long since I dug deep into this stuff. So he goes to sit with her, and Davy comes to visit, and Mike's like, "Oh no, what if she died thinking that I loved music more than her?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have basically told her that you loved music more than you loved her. She probably wouldn't think that, but whatever." So the mother of a sick child spots Davy and says her kid's a big fan and could he come talk to her? He happily obliges, and Mike goes into the hall, and another sick kid goes up to him and says, "Are you a monkey? Can you sign my cast?" And so he does. And I've heard the story a lot that celebrities with mainly a younger fan base are pissed off that they have a mainly younger fan base. Um, Instead of just being happy that they made all these kids happy. Like George Reeves was like that, Pete Duel was like that. Um, it just makes me sad. I know Glenn Larson said one time he went to Catalina Island with Pete Duel, and all these little kids went up to him and wanting his autograph and pictures, and he was their hero, and he was gracious to them. He was nice to the kids, but it just didn't mean anything to him. It wasn't clicking how special that was. And that just makes me sad. Anyway, in our last scene, the four meet up at the beach and are in better spirits, and a group of girls come up to them and ask them to sing. And they say, "We'll sing, but you have to help us." So they sing their theme song, surrounded by their fans, and they do the little monkey walk. The end. Peter Tork was very clear on the commentary that things didn't end so hopeful, but he understood that the movie needed to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Now, I find it interesting. Um, in the mid 70s, um, oh gosh, there was a pop duo, uh, Tommy Boyce and the other guy.
Something Heart. Boyce and
Yeah,
Heart.
something hard. They joined with Mickey and Davey to form a band called Dolan Jones Voice and Heart. And
Clever name.
they were trying to make it kind of, you know, as a band. They didn't go anywhere, but they were on an episode of American Bandstand. That's how I know about this. And I think it's fascinating that they were trying to continue with music, whereas Peter Tork and Mike Nesmith really faded into the background. I know Mike Nesmith did a lot of work in production. He was instrumental in the founding of MTV in music videos. His mom invented whiteout, and the family became terribly rich.
He
Um,
sure did.
and he was the one who was most like wanted to be a serious musician, and he kind of faded into the background. And Peter Tork did too. And then you got the two guys who were actors said, "Hey man, let's try to be a band, okay?"
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. But they got back together a couple times over the decades, made a couple um other albums, one in the 80s, one in the 90s.
They
Um,
made Cool It, was that in the 80s,
yeah,
and then the one in the 90s. I had the one in the 90s on CD.
that one was called Justice.
Yes, okay. So,
Yep, and then Davy Jones passed away in 2012. Uh Peter Tork passed away next. I forget the year, and Mike Nesmith passed just a couple years ago.
and Mickey's still around doing concerts.
Mickey's
So,
still around.
so do you give this a classic or a trash it?
I'll give it a mild classic. How about you?
I'll give it a classic. I like the story and I like the
Mhm.
group. So I don't know if you're not a Monkees fan, maybe you wouldn't like it, but I liked it. Do you think this is the first time I saw it? Do you think I'd seen a repeat of it, or did I watch the original airing?
You saw a repeat of it.
I did see a repeat of it about 5 years ago. Just scrolling through the apps on TV, I found it and I watched it. So this was my second time through, and I've enjoyed it both times. So great
Very cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
What are
for,
we
for
doing next week?
oh, we are doing one. This is the closest I have ever come with fame. I have a connection to this movie, and it's called Precious Victims, and you can find it on YouTube. It stars Park Overall, Richard Thomas, who is John Boy on the Waltons, and gosh, I can't remember who else is in it. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Wait, is this the woman, the wedding pictures?
Yes,
Okay. We'll get into
yes,
that later.
we'll get into that next week. So yeah, and I tried to find it somewhere else but YouTube. I can't find it anywhere else but YouTube. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that and my connection to this CD
To this
underground.
horrible, horrible crime that happened.
Yes. Your mother was in on it too, you know. So, so, and you know what? You can call your Aunt Sharon. She was in on this too. Yeah. So,
Wow.
anyway, well, thank you for joining us. And next week we will talk about Precious Victims. And in the meantime, get out those old monkey CDs, watch some monkeys, and enjoy just a great piece of Americana. See you next week.